I was very shy, very with strangers. I just couldn't talk to people. And I found if I had a drink, it loosened me up. You know, the barriers went down, and I became very social. That's what got me started. And so it took me a long time to get over it. I get a lot of letters from people who say that all of a sudden they weren't ashamed to admit they had a drinking problem and they got help. So I'm very proud of that. Was able to help people. Dick Van DJK almost died 3 times in the last decade. Once in a burning car. Once crawling on the ground during wildfires. But each time something incredible happened. At 99, he's married to a woman young enough to be his granddaughter. He's still working out harder than most 30-year-olds. And he just revealed his secret plan for turning 100. What he's doing at almost 100 years old is so shocking, even his closest friends can't believe it. Dick Van DJK was born on December 13th, 1925 in a tiny town called West Plains, Missouri. His mother, Hazel, worked as a stenographer, and his father, Lauren, sold things door to door. They didn't have much back then. Lauren earned about $26 a week, which would be around $400 today. The town had fewer than 5,000 people, and times were tough. But something about that small town life stuck with Dick forever. It gave him a simple charm and strong work ethic that never left, even when he later became one of the biggest names in Hollywood. Later, the family moved to Danville, Illinois. That's where things got interesting. During high school in the late 1930s and early 1940s, Dick ended up surrounded by future stars. Donald O'Connor, who would later dance and sing in the Rain, went to school with him. So did Bobby Short, who would become a famous singer in New York. And one of his best friends was the cousin of Gene Hackman. In a class of just under 200 students, at least 3 would go on to become national celebrities. That kind of chance is incredibly rare. But for Dick, it planted the idea that maybe he could do something big, too. Before he ever stepped on stage, Dick thought he was going to become a minister. His mother made sure they never missed Sunday church. At 15, he even gave a sermon. He liked the idea of lifting people's spirits. He once said he wanted to bring joy to others the way his pastor did every week. But then came school plays. Once he started acting, everything shifted. A drama teacher encouraged him to perform, and the idea of becoming a minister slowly faded. The world came very close to never seeing him sing and dance on screen. Something else nearly kept him from performing. When he was 16, doctors told him he had a heart murmur. That meant no running, no football, no sports at all. It was heartbreaking news. But since he couldn't play sports, he joined drama class instead. He got his first role that fall, and something just clicked. That applause gave him a feeling he never forgot. The condition that once felt like a curse turned out to be the reason he found the stage. Just 2 years later, in 1944, Dick made a decision that stunned everyone around him. He dropped out of high school and tried to join the military during World War II. But at 6 feet 1 inch and only 130 pounds, he didn't meet the weight requirement. He tried 3 times and failed. The minimum was 141 pounds. So he ate bananas nonstop until he finally passed on the 4th try. Even then, he didn't see combat. Instead, he entertained troops on the home front. It didn't matter to him. He just wanted to help, and he wasn't going to give up. Once he was finally accepted, Dick dreamed of flying planes. But that dream ended quickly. He had an allergy that made combat impossible, and he didn't do well in drills. So they made him a radio announcer. The way he got the job was almost ridiculous. While using the latrine at a base in Sherman, Texas, an officer handed him a piece of paper and told him to read it. That was his audition. Just like that, he became the voice of a program called Flight Time. That moment in the bathroom, strange as it was, launched a career that would reach millions. Dick didn't stop at radio. He moved into the military's entertainment branch, performing in stage shows and building sets. He ran comedy programs, played music, and even made jokes over loudspeakers in the mess hall. These small, chaotic performances weren't glamorous, but they taught him how to think fast and stay confident. They also taught him how to connect with an audience, no matter where he was. Years later, those same skills would carry him through television and film. In 1946, after the war ended, Dyke returned home. He was just 21 and took a job spinning records on Dan, his local radio station. He cracked jokes, hosted contests, and played music for families all across town. It wasn't a big job, but it gave him a platform. People started to know his voice. He wasn't famous yet, but he was getting closer. Then came failure. Instead of going straight into show business, Dyke tried to open an advertising agency in Danville. It didn't last. Within a year, the business collapsed. He lost money. He lost confidence. It could have ended everything. But that failure was a turning point. Feeling desperate, he teamed up with a friend named Phil Erickson to form a comedy duo. That one decision set him on the path to entertainment. Together they became Eric and Van the Merry Mutes, an act that relied on my music and comedy without a single spoken word. While everyone else chased punchlines, they lip-synced to old records and let body language steal the laughs. They started in West Coast nightclubs and stayed on the road for over 5 years. That's around 2,000 nights of constant performing, constant traveling, and constant practice. They even made it onto early television in Atlanta, where mime acts were a rare sight. For Van DJK, this stretch of time sharpened everything. His timing, his stamina, and his comfort with a live audience long before anyone knew his name. On February 12, 1948, something unusual happened on live radio. Dyke Van DJK and his girlfriend Marjorie Willett got married in front of 15 million listeners. They were broke, and the national radio show bride and groom offered to pay for their wedding and honeymoon if they agreed to say their vows live. So they did. 2 microphones, a minister, and a room full of strangers made it official. It was an early glimpse into how entertainment and real life could mix on air. The marriage lasted 36 years and brought them 4 children, long before reality shows made wedding drama into a business. Van DJK and Willett lived through one of the earliest and most public moments of it. In the early 1950s, Van DJK found himself in New Orleans, working at WDSU TV Channel 6, the city's first television station.